Hi, I'm Nathan Oakley and this is video log number 63. Thomas Sheridan is a absolutely superb source when it comes to information about psychopaths, and for this reason I invited him to come on to Flat Earth UK. His response was to say that he did not want to associate himself with Flat Earth, and I totally understood. So it was a little bit of a surprise when he did a Yule special and a New Year's Eve special on that very subject. Now, in his most recent Flat Earth video, he has alluded to the fact that we all believe Earth is flat because of a Russian psyop to convince us that NASA are useless. And that's the main purpose behind it, as far as I can tell from Thomas Sheridan. He also asked why his telescope, that's 30 years old, has got an equatorial mount. Now, he claims that no flat earther has explained this to him, they can't give him a reason, and it seems to me that his equatorial mount is his proof of the globe. Now, an equatorial mount is just a motorised mount that lets you track stars or planets and keep them in your field of view on your telescope. Now, to me, that's almost as poor proof of being on a globe as something like the Foucault pendulum. So, we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour and the stars above us are turning at a very, very slow rate indeed, about the same sort of rate as the Foucault pendulum. And Thomas Sheridan's telescope does the same thing. In answer to his question, why does it have an equatorial mount, with a very complicated explanation of to how it keeps him tracked to the centre of the Earth in order to track the very slowly moving stars above his head, it's there to convince you you're on a globe, like most things. And as for the KGB being a operation to try and convince us that NASA are useless and that's why we all focus on NASA, wrong. If you check out one of my interviews, it was with a NASA insider who described NASA as the biggest art house in history. And everything he describes in terms of people believing we're on a globe because we've known it for centuries, you could flip on its head and say we've known we live on a flat plane for centuries. The reality is that the globe model is the programming and the psyop and all of the other things he describes, and the programming and gaslighting that he thinks is flat Earth is not. It's the globe. Now, Thomas Sheridan said, well, people go out to the beach and look for a curve and therefore they feel that there's no curve to Earth. Again, he hasn't done his research. The horizon is at eye level through 360 degrees regardless of altitude. So as you go up in a plane and look out of either side of the window, you will find that the horizon has risen with you to eye level and is at the same level through 360 degrees. It does not fall away, as the heliocentric maths would dictate, at 8 inches per mile squared. Now I'm going to play a little bit of Thomas Sheridan's most recent show to address two particular issues that he assumes are true for flat earthers. So I'll play that out.
You can actually see the real reason the Black Panthers were despised, and then later groups like MOVE in Philadelphia were despised, was because of their direct connection to Soviet intelligence. NASA has to be undermined at home. They have to be made seem like monsters and evil. And they have found the demographic to do it. Someone in the Kremlin, well, it's not the Kremlin anymore, but we'll just say, I forget the name of the district in Moscow where it all happens. I was reading it the other day. Oh, yeah, the Asesnov district in Moscow, which has replaced the Kremlin, where all the intelligence, it's like the defense in Paris. They identified probably things like the Apollo moon hoax landing and all this kind of thing. And they saw these kinds of people. They found a very specific demographic. If you look at the people who were taken in spellbound by the flat earthing, there's certain things you'll notice. They're aliens. They're into aliens and things like that. They're Christianized. There's a strong Christian element, so therefore there's already an inbuilt evangelical aspect to it. This is what.
So we need to make NASA look stupid. Now, Thomas Sheridan again doesn't seem to realise that all of these countries he feels are trying to attack each other are all hands across the water with the Antarctic Treaty, keeping us out with guns and stopping us from exploring part of Gaia, the female Earth he describes. I think Thomas Sheridan really needs to get laid. Every single time he talks about flat Earth, he associates it back with moist women. And it's just nonsense. The Earth isn't a disc as he describes it. None of us think it's a disc. Maybe the Flat Earth Society, but we just think it's a massive plane that you can see for a long distance on and never falls away at 8 inches per mile squared. Now, Thomas Sheridan also doesn't realise that it's not the flat earthers that believe in aliens, it's him. The heliocentrists believe in aliens. If you think you live on a globe, you must accept that aliens are a mathematical certainty. I don't think aliens exist. I think it's a complete load of nonsense. I'm not Christianised. I may be a Christian, I may have been raised a Christian, but I lost my faith until I found flat earth. That doesn't mean that it's been brought upon by the Christians. The first thing I did was interview my Christian pastor uncle, who is very, very much for the heliocentric model and would fight against passages in the Bible that would contradict that, to convince me, the flat earther, that he lives on a globe. Again, Jeranism did a wonderful job of explaining that if you go down a Christian route and do biblical studies at school, you are still very much pulled into the heliocentric model, and the same obviously applies if you want to be an atheist and go down the scientific model. They've got you at both ends. So we're not indoctrinated, we're not into aliens, we're not Christianised, definitely not stupid. He also assumes that we're all idiots and none of us have got the slightest idea what we're talking about and are just gullible. And Thomas Sheridan said that we shouldn't take sides. Thomas Sheridan has taken a side, the hypocrite, and it's anti-flat earth that he has decided to camp in, despite having done very limited research and assuming that it's a psyop to get us all against the Russians or the Russians against the Americans. We're sending up a Brit to a space station that's been built by many different countries on a Russian rocket. He also seems to think that NASA is severely or supremely technologically advanced, despite the fact that they're sending people up on Soyuz, technology from the 50s. Thomas Sheridan hasn't got a clue when it comes to flat earth. I was wrong. I still want to talk to him about it. Hopefully this is, as I suggested in my last video, the blue pill being taken and him bracing against it, only to hopefully have a realisation of the actual psyop that's at work, and that's the globe psyop. The programming is not flat earth programming. We're having to brace against people telling us that we're mad, just like Thomas Sheridan, and laughing as the people he brings up flat earth with when he discusses it in his social circles. He also says that flat friends are attacking him. I'm not attacking him. I've put an open arm out, an invitation, and said, I want to put my arm around you, metaphorically speaking, and show you where you have made incorrect assumptions. Without any debate, Thomas Sheridan has braced against it with no way of responding. He has comments shut down so nobody can actually correct him on his video. He's just ranting against flat earth. Well, I'm more than happy to do the same and say, you're wrong. You know, if the Antarctic Treaty didn't exist, I might possibly think that, yes, this is an operation to make the American NASA program look terrible by the Russians. But they're flying on Russian rockets, and they're all hands across the water with a treaty that's the longest standing treaty in history. Now, I know this has been a long video log, but I'm hoping that Thomas Sheridan will watch it and agree to come on my show and talk about flat earth in a civilised way without ranting about nonsense, talking about CIA, psyops. It's all a load of rubbish. I've been Nathan Oakley. I'll see you in the next video.